On November 23, 1910, Dr. Hawley Harvey Chippen met his end at Pentonville Prison in London, hanged for the murder of his wife, Cora Chippen. His execution marked the conclusion of one of the most infamous murder cases in British history, one that captivated the public and pioneered the use of wireless telegraphy in crime detection. However, even over a century later, questions still linger about whether justice was truly served. Born in the United States in 1862, Chippen trained as a homeopathic doctor and later moved to London with his wife, Cora Chippen, a music hall singer who performed under the stage name Belle Elmore. Their marriage was reportedly unhappy, with Cora known for her affairs and domineering personality, while Chippen was described as timid and reserved. In early 1910, Cora disappeared. Chippen claimed that she had returned to the United States, but suspicions arose when Ethel Leneve, his young lover and secretary, was soon seen wearing Cora's jewelry. Cora's friends, growing concerned about her sudden vanishing, pressured the police to investigate. Scotland Yard, led by Chief Inspector Walter Dew, questioned Chippen, who initially said Cora had left him for another man. However, he soon changed his story, claiming she had died suddenly and had been cremated. Dew was not convinced, and when the police searched Chippen's home at 39, Hilldrop Crescent, London, they made a gruesome discovery: a partially decomposed human torso buried beneath the basement floor. Though much of the body was missing, forensic tests identified traces of hyoscine scopolamine, a powerful poison. Chippen and Ethel Leneve, now prime suspects, had already fled to Belgium and then boarded the SS Montrose, a ship bound for Canada. As Chippen and Leneve sailed across the Atlantic in disguise, Chippen had shaved his mustache, and Leneve dressed as a boy. Inspector Dew launched one of the most famous manhunts of the era. The ship's captain, Henry Kendall, grew suspicious of the duo and used a new Marconi wireless telegraph system to alert authorities in Britain. This was the first time in history that radio technology was used to capture a fugitive. Dew boarded a faster ship and intercepted the SS Montrose before it reached Canada. When he confronted Chippen, the fugitive reportedly sighed and said, "Thank God it's over. The suspense has been too great." He and Leneve were arrested and returned to England for trial. Chippen's trial began in October 1910 at the Old Bailey. The prosecution, led by Richard Muir, presented the body parts found in his basement as proof of his guilt. Although the remains were in a poor state, they contained a scar on the skin, which was alleged to match a surgical operation that Cora had undergone. Additionally, toxicologists confirmed the presence of hyoscine, which Chippen had purchased before Cora's disappearance. Chippen maintained his innocence, claiming that the remains were not Cora's and that he had no idea how they got there. However, the jury took just 27 minutes to find him guilty of murder, and he was sentenced to death. His lover, Ethel Leneve, was tried separately as an accessory but was acquitted and later fled to Canada. On the morning of November 23, 1910, Chippen was led to the gallows at Pentonville Prison in London. Albert Pierrepoint, Britain's most famous executioner, carried out the hanging. Chippen was said to have remained calm in his final moments, reportedly saying, "I am glad to die like a gentleman." His death was swift. The execution method used, the long drop hanging technique, was designed to ensure near instantaneous death by breaking the neck. His body was buried within the prison walls, as was customary for executed prisoners. While the case seemed open and shut at the time, modern forensic analysis has cast doubt on Chippen's guilt. In 2007, Dr. David Foran, a forensic scientist from Michigan State University, conducted DNA tests on tissue samples preserved from the body. His findings suggested that the remains did not belong to a woman, let alone Cora Chippen. Instead, they appeared to be from a male individual. This revelation has fueled speculation that Chippen may have been wrongfully convicted. Some theories suggest that Cora had indeed run away to America, as Chippen originally claimed, and that the body in the basement was placed there to frame him. Others argue that forensic techniques in 1910 were unreliable, and the DNA evidence cannot be trusted due to contamination or mislabeling. Dr. Chippen's case remains one of the most enduring murder mysteries in British history. It was a landmark trial for forensic science, the first to use radio communication in law enforcement, and an example of how public perception and circumstantial evidence can shape a verdict. Whether Crippen was a cold-blooded killer or a victim of miscarriage of justice may never be known for certain. However, his name is forever etched into the annals of British crime history as one of the most infamous figures of the early 20th century.